All right, everybody, we have about 1 minute, so please take your seats. We'll be diving into AI-driven marketing, acquiring customers with precision and scale. So please find your seats and get prepared. All right, everyone, take your seats and please join me in welcoming our panel, which consists of Marjorie McCarthy, Wendy Forseth, Josh Beatty, Dimple McConney, and Michael Berrihan. Let's give them a round of applause. Okay. Okay, here we go. Hi, everyone. I'm Marjorie McCarthy. I'm Chief Marketing Officer of ISS North America. If you don't know us, we are a global workplace experience and facility services company. We have over 320,000 employees around the world. We are the people that power the buildings that we all work and have experiences in. So we do cleaning, we do technical services, we do culinary services, we do workplace and reception services. We are focused on delivering hospitality in the workplace. And because of our large workforce and because we are working with customers across the Fortune 100 down to the mid-market, and we're in offices, we're in airports, we're in hospitals, how we leverage our workforce and how we make sure that we're connecting our workforce to our customers is critical for us. And how AI connects into that conversation, especially how it connects to our customers, is really important for us. So I feel really excited to get to be a part of this panel today. And we have a really amazing group of marketers and industry thought leaders here. And what's really exciting is that this is a very diverse group. We've got different industries represented. We have different company sizes and scales and growth journeys represented. And so we're really gonna have an interesting conversation. So to kick us off, if y'all could each introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about where you are, who you're with, but also tell us a little bit about where you are in your AI journey. So, as a marketer, as a marketing organization, as an enterprise, maybe we can just kick it off there, and Michael, we'll start with you.
Hey everybody, Michael Berrihan. I head up B2B Marketing Ops at SiriusXM Media. I've been in the marketing ops game for well over 15 years. Before being at Sirius, kind of ran an agency as well, so kind of got that experience working, very closely with some larger companies, national and global brands. I think at heart, I'm a futurist, so I think that, there's a lot of varying opinions on AI, application of AI, like we all have different kind of takes on it, but I think right now, for me, I'm just fascinated by it, and that's not just because I'm a marketer and because I work in a company that's owns technology companies as well, but just the ability to engage with it and to live in this era that we're in, I think is really special. And maybe people said that was the same thing, in the 70s when we had different inventions come out then, and in the 80s and 90s, and the internet and dial-up, and is as old as I am. But you know, I remember having to get kicked off of America Online when my mom needed to use the phone, you know, and my chat getting disrupted. So I'm excited, you know, personally. And you know, where I think I balance that with is, someone said it earlier in another keynote, is having goals, right? We don't just apply AI to apply AI. We want to have goals, and we want to respect privacy and personally identifiable information as marketers and data. But we also want to be optimistic and use it to create more impact for our teams.
Thank you. My name is Dimple Malkani, and I am currently a venture partner at Solaris Ventures. And what we do at Solaris is invest in projects related to data infrastructure, AI, robotics, humanoids, with a specific focus on Asia into the US. And you know, to answer Marjorie's question, my whole career has sort of come together to do what I'm doing today. I'm a career marketer and partnerships person, major brands, you know, NBC Universal, Pfizer, AT&T. But at the same time, I'm a Silicon Valley baby, a native, and started my career very early in the Bay, from Web 1.0 onwards. So I've been in continuous practice of taking major brands and taking the latest technology and merging them. And so it's super exciting being part of the AI revolution and being able to get to take all that and culminate it into what I'm doing today. And you know, my thoughts on AI is, you know, we have to embrace it. Just early adoption is wonderful. What we're seeing with a lot of our startups that we work with is that the AI native organizations are forced to be reckoned with. You know, traditional and major brands are having to compete with what, you know, a one-man show startup is doing, and you know, we all know examples of that. And so what we're doing at Solaris is even looking past that in terms of physical hardware, AI, or humanoids, and you know, a lot of trends that we'll speak about that are coming up. So thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Wendy Forsyth. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at eXp World Holdings. You would know perhaps two of our main brands, eXp Realty. eXp Realty operates in 28 different countries around the world. We power just over 82,000 residential real estate professionals in their brands. As well, we operate Success Magazine through Success Enterprises, which is just over a 100-year-old personal development brand. You've probably seen the magazine if you travel through an airport. And through both of those brands, we are, I like to say, all the way down the rabbit hole of using AI to empower both our customers who on the brokerage side, which is where I spend most of my time, empowering our customers who we view as being our agents, our residential real estate agents, to use AI in their business to help them serve their customers, which would be their buyers and sellers out in the marketplace, and help empower our employees. So we have about 2,400 W-2 employees that help serve our agents. And we're very much vibe coding, citizen developers, finding ways to help our employees leverage AI in their day-to-day workflows. So we'll be talking a lot more about that.
Good afternoon. My name is Josh Beatty. I'm Director of Marketing at Marical out in Orange County, California. We are the largest probiotic manufacturer in North America, so you see supplements in big retailers and Vitamin Shop and GNC. Good chance we probably developed those in-house. We have a company of about 600 people in 4 locations, and so we've been around for about 65 years as a company. While manufacturing has a lot of automated processes, internal processes are sometimes a little archaic, especially when you have a legacy company that's been doing certain things a certain way. So in my time at Marical within the last year and a half, I've kind of been charged with championing how to really innovate our digital kind of transformation internally, starting with the marketing and IT department. And so we're in our early stage, but I'm excited to see what we're doing. So.
Awesome, thank you. So this this panel is about customer acquisition. So why don't we start there? Let's start with the customer. You all have some really great examples of how you've used AI to create connection and an experience with your customers. And so maybe we can get into some real life examples. Michael, I'm gonna go to you first because you had some really interesting points there.
Yeah, so we're really focused on using AI for global domination, right? That's all jokes aside. I think as marketers, we understand that whoever's closest to the customer wins, right? We're creating brands, we're creating energy with a customer that gets them to be a recurring customer or trust us or be in our product ecosystem for 5-10 years, right? That's a big ask of anyone today. I mean, there's so many competitors out there that our customers could go to, right? So I think when we look at AI, really where I see it being so impactful for marketers and people working in sales, marketing, and revenue ops is how do we use the AI to create a closer connection, to be more real time, to get to them when they need us more, to create more personalization, whether that's through ABM, or it's through a chat experience, or it's through just an experience that works best for that specific individual. I think in the past, we tried to take like blanket statements or blanket concepts and apply them to all customers. But we're talking about human beings at the end of the day, right? No matter what, B2B, B2C, it doesn't really matter. People and humans are at the end of the decision making right now when it comes to products and solutions. So using AI to better understand their needs, right? To analyze their needs faster, to understand them quicker, and to get them to a product or a solution that works for them in a quicker way, in a more efficient way. I think that's what puts us ahead of our own competitors, right? And looking at our own competitive market. That's really where I'm just excited and focused about that, right? Is filling data gaps, personalization, ABM, like I said, real-time engagement. And then the other thing we've been doing that I've been looking at closely is how do we use AI to analyze our own internal systems for errors, red flags, bloated data. We see a lot of both process and technical debt that we need to clean up. I think everybody's company deals with that, and then the bigger your company, the more that compounds. So again, that allows us to prioritize customers who are closer to an actual sale, and have more impact on that revenue when we're using AI.
Josh, you also had a really interesting example of how AI is impacting your customer experience. Do you want to share that?
Yeah. So we have a lot of interesting things that we're doing at Marical right now. So for the past, I want to say 5 years, in our research and development department, we've been developing a database of research reports, clinical studies, because everything we want to make for our customers, we want it to be clinically backed and substantiated. And that comes with a lot of things like regulatory. You want to be able to have a claim on the label, you have to substantiate that for it to be legal. And so over the past 5 years, this database has been created, but we had to find a way to really make use of it effectively. And so we created this new system called NutriRoll. It's kind of our own little internal name. And with a click of a few buttons, we can spin up any kind of formula that's clinically substantiated. We can create formulas that have never been created, and then we can create a trademark, patent, all kinds of things around that. And so that's something that customers really like when we can come speed to market. When we have a big states meeting, you can go back that afternoon and go, we have a formula. People are like, wait, what? This takes weeks to develop. So, well, we have the team that already developed the whole foundation, but we can come to you with a formula that says it's ready to go. So it's substantiated. Here's all the research. If your people want to read it, it's ready to go.
During our next time together, we're going to have you demo that for us because it sounds really cool. Dimple, you have the perspective of across many industries, and maybe you could share a couple of examples just from the broader industry of where you've seen AI really impacting our ability to access customers impactfully.
Yeah, thank you, Marjorie. And I think a couple of great examples to give would be in the B2C realm with brands we're all familiar with, and actually piggybacking off of what Michael just said. So one of my favorite examples and brands that I think does a great job of being an early adopter of technology is Sephora. And Sephora, has already in the last few years adopted on their app for someone to take a photo of themselves and try on the various SKUs that Sephora has. And if any of you've walked into a Sephora store, there's unlimited amount of colors and shades and products, from hair care to skincare to makeup. And so that's something that they've already been doing. But what they're looking to do down the road, and this is something that is really neat that we're also seeing in robotics, is sort of this EQ, or this emotive sense that AIs are starting to train on. And so what Sephora will be doing is integrating into Alexa and Google Homes so that you can get skincare advice right from your home device, as well as at some point they will be able to pick up the tone of the person speaking. So pick up my tone to understand what my needs are, and I think that's super cool. And so they're already working on a way to sort of put your Sephora order in through these home devices, using your voice and picking up your emotions. So that's pretty darn cool. Another example that I really like is taking a really old traditional brand that we all know, Coca-Cola. And so Coca-Cola recently partnered with NVIDIA and WPP, one of the major agencies, on 3D images for their content. And so a lot of us in the AI world, definitely in the marketing world, thought that agencies would die with the advent of AI. But agencies are smart; they've adopted the AI tools, and so they are right there partnering with NVIDIA and bringing that instant quality brand imaging that Coca-Cola consumers and brand loyalists are used to seeing. Because something I've also heard are, when brand teams are trying to adopt AI tools and are questioning the quality, right? They've been putting out quality content, and all of a sudden they're using an AI tool and they're really slow to adopt it, or being very conservative, and then there's tension between sort of product or product marketing and brand. And so a brand like Coca-Cola has solved that problem by still using the agency and the latest tech companies to produce very high quality content.
Very cool, thank you. Okay, we're gonna turn a bit now to talking about marketing operations, because one of the conversations we had before this panel is, how can we be leveraging AI in our marketing operations to free up or economize resources so that we can spend more time focusing on the customer? Wendy, you have done this really impactfully in your organization, so tell us more about that.
Yeah, as I mentioned, we've been all the way in on AI across all of our departments in our company, but especially in marketing. So we have an enterprise account with OpenAI, and I'll give you an example that is sort of hot off the presses in the last 48 hours. So we anxiously sort of had a watch party on Monday as ChatGPT 5 was unveiled to the world. Anybody playing with it yet? Super cool. We're all kinds of excited about it. One of the challenges that real world problem we have, so I mentioned our customers are real estate professionals. We have 82,000 of them. Their primary form of communication with one another within our ecosystem has been Meta's Workplace. And of course, Meta announced that they were retiring Workplace. And the demographic of the average real estate professional is sort of a 55-plus-year-old individual here in the US, skews heavily female. They love Facebook, right? So they've loved Workplace. And they're sending referrals to one another, they're posting their listings, they're posting photos, they're heavily visual humans. So we've migrated our entire organization over to Slack. And this is just internal, like EXP agent-to-agent communication with one another. you can imagine they're hating Slack, right? We didn't make this decision. This was a meta decision. Slack is the best option. They hate it. Since Monday, we've been able to stand up with new sort of ChatGPT 5, and because of the enhancements that OpenAI made, with conjunction with now, because it's playing so much better with Lovable, so through sort of the hooks that we can now get through ChatGPT 5, Lovable, and Slack, almost like a look and feel of workplace that will satisfy the visual element that they were missing, still keep them connected into Slack, which keeps us happy because we want them in our ecosystem, but gives them that user visual experience that they were missing, like in under 48 hours. So it's providing a win-win, and that's the kind of stuff that I didn't need my dev team. I didn't need, a bunch of I didn't need to go through all the stuff that I would have had to go through, right? With cross-functional, docs and requirements and back and forth and months of project stuff. We just spun it up. And that is the freedom and the power that AI has given a marketing team that we couldn't even have dreamed of 6 months ago when we started this. And we've literally just taken the handcuffs off of our team, and there's some pain points with that, but the creativity and the power it has given everyone in our organization is just amazing. You gotta remove the roadblocks, and you will find some amazingly talented people in your company that will do things that will blow your mind.
Before we move on, do you want to give I thought your digital twin example was really interesting.
So another thing, that one is just so hot off the presses that it's just so cool. So another thing that we did, we created digital twins of our leaders. So anyone that's sort of managing a team in our company has created, working with ChatGPT, a digital twin of themselves. So we worked with Chat, we had Chat sort of interview us to essentially provide a coach that's accessible for all of our staff to talk to us anytime. So if you had a question like, what would Wendy do? Any of my staff can talk to my digital twin and ask me that question, or how does Wendy feel about this, or coach me on this situation, or provide critique on this. They can work with the digital twin to coach through that. And that goes all the way up the organization. Our CEO, our founder has a digital twin, and the digital twins are open so that everybody in the organization has access to everyone else's digital twin. So everyone from an entry-level employee to any of our real estate agents can access our founder and CEO's digital twin and ask questions. Where do you see our company in 2030? And we're a publicly traded company. So these are, interesting things to navigate through, which is a whole other panel discussion.
Well, taking a lead from that, though, we talked a lot about in our pre-discussion about leading teams, whether it's a marketing organization or otherwise, through AI transformation. And how are you all, and I'd love for a couple of folks to respond to this, how are you all thinking about leading your teams through AI transformation, and all the feels that come along with that, potentially, right? And then in addition to leading teams, it's a two-part question, how are you thinking about working with your stakeholders and your leadership to position your AI journey in a way that drives business impact and that ensures that connectivity with your leadership and with your stakeholders? I'll give that up to anybody, or Wendy, if you want to kick off, or Michael, or...
So it's a lot of communication. There is fear, especially from the employees, and I'll speak from sort of the marketing team specifically, right? Because the marketing team hears a lot about, is my job going to be gone, right? So especially specific parts of the marketing team, my designers are fearful, right? And I have like one-on-ones with my designers probably every other month, right? I've got a designer that says like, can I have some time? And it takes some frank conversation. So those conversations for me is like, look, you've got to look for ways to provide value, and you've got to get excited about this. Because it doesn't have, you can't operate from a place of fear. You've got to operate from a place of excitement. Because this is not going to go away, and your fear is only going to inhibit the possibilities. So let's look for the possibilities. And what I've been encouraging all of the team is to look for those possibilities. So that means get involved in more projects. Look for more areas of the business where you can contribute. So it is really about sort of expanding your horizons and looking to like grow that sort of skill set. But it's, there's a mindset that we talk a lot about is that the robot is your thought partner, you are the thought leader. And as long as you always come from a position of being the thought leader and the robot being your thought partner, you shouldn't be fearful. Because the robot can't be the thought leader, they can be your thought partner. And if you leverage the robot as your thought partner and stay strong and you're the thought leader, bringing the thought leadership to every problem, challenge, and opportunity, stay strong in that and find comfort in that. And so we bring it back to that sort of mindset whenever sort of discomfort comes into the conversation.
Yeah, I think Wendy brings up really good points. I think something to pay attention to as well is like the iPhone is arguably one of the biggest inventions ever. Is that we still work on laptops and we still work on desktop computers sometimes, right? Because we found that even though it's efficient for 80% maybe of the things we do, this 20% is not, right? I need to sit down, I need to use this laptop. So I think that was a really interesting moment where we saw this coexistence happen, where the new technology did not replace the old technology, right? And it's happened a few times. And then some things come along that we think are going to be a big hit, and they're just vapor, like remember the metaverse? Remember how big that was going to be, It came and it went, and it's a hobbyist thing now. So I think as we move forward through this AI kind of evolution, I really do feel like it's going to be a coexistence. I feel like, some things are going to get replaced the way Tower Records got replaced, which, by the way, I used to love going to Tower Records in high school late at night, right? Get a junior bacon cheeseburger from Wendy's, hit up Tower Records, and that's a nostalgic experience now for me. And I think it'll be very similar. We'll have these kind of nostalgic experiences that get overtaken by the tech, but some things will remain. Just in this room, show of hands, how many people manage other people though? I want to know, just like how many people have direct reports? Okay, it's a lot, it's a good amount. I don't know about you guys, but I get Zoom fatigue. I get meeting fatigue. There's days when I'm like, just give me 5 hours of like uninterrupted time to just do what I need to do. And when you're in that player coach role for a company, right? I think AI can be extremely powerful. One of the things I've been testing, like just personally right now, that involves no PII, it involves no real, risk, is having people report into a GPT, right? That can then analyze our tasks, what we've accomplished for that week, what we're going to be, postponing until next week, and starting to gauge efficiency, and just letting us know like what's important, what can be pushed, what we should be prioritizing. Not because we want to get performance reviews or people are going to get, in trouble, but just because I think all of us in this room are probably struggling with too much work in progress, right? There's just so much to get done, and there's only so many resources we have. And I think when you leverage AI like that, that reports up to leadership very well, right? When you can create more efficiency for your team, and as marketers, prioritize things that are going to have a more direct and faster return. So that's what I've seen.
Thank you. Okay, so looking a little bit to the future, obviously there are many considerations, many trends that we all as marketers and leaders are thinking about. Each of you all had some really interesting insights on some of those specific trends leading into this conversation. So hoping that we can take a few minutes to just tick through some of those. And Josh, I'm going to start with you. You raised a really interesting point about the rise again of the marketing generalist, thanks to AI. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I guess I'll come from this to the point of, if you're in a smaller team, this is going to be really good for you. If larger teams, it can be a different discussion perhaps, but my team is very lean in America. We have 600 employees, but we have a marketing team of 3. Me, the head of marketing, I have a designer, and I have a category analyst that works close with our sales team. And so when you can really scale yourself using AI, you need to be a force multiplier somehow, some way. So if you don't have the headcount to help you be a force multiplier as a leader, you got to build the solutions around you. And so using the different tools and resources and those kind of things help scale. One way that I help scale our analyst work is, she spends a lot of time pulling data and pulling reports from various kind of internal sources like Circana, Stings, Nielsen, things like that, where there's a tool, I'm not sponsoring it, but it's called Julius, where you can, instead of spending all the time running formulations in Excel, you can ask for it to find the white space in certain areas to find a product opportunity with a client. So you upload your info into that, and you put the guardrails around it. It can spit out all kinds of interesting things that might have taken a few days, manual work as an analyst, but it pops it out in just a few minutes. And I'm kind of blown away at how you can scale yourself. So also with that said, I think about a decade ago, the whole idea was being a TJ marketer. And that's what I was kind of told when I first started right out of college, was go deep. Go deep in something. Mine was social media. I started as a social media coordinator right out of grad school. And so I got really good at that. I built a Facebook page with 1 million customers with 0 paid ads. I can't do that anymore. That was like my bread and butter back then. But I found over the years that as I grew, my skill set had to expand, and I had to be able to do 20% of everything as a leader, but then allow the tools and resources or people on your team to do the rest of the 80%. And so I think now, if you are a generalist, it's going to be in your advantage to get that job. If it comes down to the 3 candidates, probably the generalist is going to get that. That's how I got my job. I learned just a few months ago. Because I was asking my boss, I'm like, so what made you choose me out of everyone? Well, we had this really good copywriter, we had this really good person who's good at this, but you just had enough of everything to be dangerous. And so that can win you jobs sometimes. Might have been different, a few years ago, but I think the generalist is perhaps the way to go. It's not the fancy cool thing, but it's where the value is. And then when you come in with that, you can coach, you can do all kinds of things, you can be a force multiplier, and that's where you can really make the money going forward if you're ambitious in that sense.
Yeah, thank you. So another one of the considerations we talked about is rapid adoption, navigating the speed of transformation, and just how we're each as marketers and in our organizations thinking about the speed at which we're adopting and navigating that. And Wendy and Dimple, you both had really interesting insights on that particular topic. And I will let y'all choose who goes first there.
Thank you. Yes, this came up when we were throwing ideas around, and what I'm noticing, so I'm also an AI fellow for Perplexity, so I've been exposed to what Perplexity can do, fairly early example being Comet and Labs. And seeing demos of that very early, my first sort of, I got, a pit in my stomach going, there are all these founders, whether the AI native companies or otherwise, where, a release of like a Comet browser is going to kill a lot of those startups and many B2B software companies in one go. I mean, it took Perplexity 7 months to build Comet, I believe, and it's going to take out a lot of companies. And so I worry for organizations that are buying some of these AI tools and are trying to be early adopters, or are using some B2B SaaS that are going to be gone. So I think as business leaders, we need to think about what are the right tools, and when you are talking to vendors, figure out what's their longevity plan and how are they competing against some of the big guys out there. So that's something. I just wanted to touch on one other thing, which is in terms of AI tools and efficiencies, Whisper Flow, for example, I think will be something you all should look into, which basically, it's going to take away the keyboard, which is a technology we have been using for a long time, but you'll be able to speak everything from your Slack messages to your emails and things like that. So in terms of futuristic efficiency and where AI is going, Whisper tool like Gamma is another one. These I learned through the AI Perplexity Fellowship. It's not something I'm promoting per se, but just from my insights, Gamma will take out PowerPoint, and how much time we spend on each slide will go away. And so I think these are the type of things that are going to, did we ever think PowerPoint was going to go away? And a lot of us dreamed of PowerPoint going away. But I think that it's finally here. And so when we talk about what's coming in the future and what to beware of, that's what I, keep my finger on that to stay relevant.
The rapid adoption, if you want your team to really lean into it, you've got to give them the tools, and then you've got to create a culture for it. So one of the things is, if you're going to create that culture, you've got to give them time and space to learn. So we heard, I guess, a fear early on, and I say early on, like last year, right? Because we're literally like months into all of this of like, how do I do my job and learn all this AI stuff too? So we immediately said, okay, we've got to make space for people to do that. So in our team, we started like Thursday afternoon. We said like Thursday afternoon, you block off, like that's your like sandbox time, right? Like that's when you play. And everybody has an enterprise account, ChatGPT. Everyone has a Lovable account. Everybody has an N8N. We do a lot of workflows, so they all have their own N8N accounts. We're paying for all of this for them, so they're not having to like pay like out of their own pocket for any of this, because they're using it to build efficiencies in their jobs, so they have more time to be creative. We also tried to solve for them pain points. So we use Gamma because you can spend a lot of time as a creative building presentations. We have Enterprise Canva Pro accounts for everyone, because that's another efficiency, especially on the marketing team for them. But email is a love-hate relationship. So we wanted to find a solve for emails. So we found Fixer.ai. So Fixer is an AI tool that will save hours every week in your inbox. AI to your whole inbox, writes your replies for you, sorts emails into 8 different categories. Go get Fixer. I don't sell Fixer, I'm not a resale, it's a third party, but Fixer is such a gift to your inbox. So we got our whole staff, we provide it to all of our agents now, because it gives you back hours every week. So when you get those hours back, then you can go leverage them to do other things. So we made that commitment to our staff, was like, if we're going to really take our business to the next level with the gift of AI, we'll help you find the time and space so that we can go then create with it other efficiencies. So those are just some examples of things that we've done.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Thank you. And then, Michael, you shared a passion for education on just compliance and thinking about GDPR and just all of the different considerations around governance when we think about leveraging AI tools. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think that's the big difference between a smaller company and a larger company, or especially a global company. You know, startups can move really fast. You know, not just startups, medium-sized businesses. They have, I think, a little less risk to mitigate, right? I think, you know, one thing. Look, like I said earlier, I'm a futurist. Like, I love all of this stuff. You know, every day I'm learning more, and I'm just amazed by where things are going. And imagine where things are going to be in 5 or 10 years. It's like mind-blowing how fast the last 24 months have moved. But with that said, I think we also need to balance that with an understanding that if we don't monitor things, if we're not careful, things can get out of control, right? You need to have that kind of mindset as well, where you can't just have people going rogue, you know, putting spreadsheets into ChatGPT of personally identifiable information, or, you know, unleashing agents into a Salesforce instance or something, you know, in the browser. So it's really, I think education is a big part, and I think that's what speaks up to senior leadership and C-suite executives, is that that type of thinking is in place, where there is checks and balances first, and we're not creating exposure for the company. And I'm not, like, obviously an attorney, but I've worked with enough compliance and, you know, legal people in my career to understand that, like, you know, this is a risk that if you don't get on top of it, it just kind of, again, will start to snowball until you have an avalanche problem, you know, and you have a data leak, and you have, you know, a true issue. So I think it's really about educating your teams, you know, even in your small business units or the teams that you manage, educating them on what's acceptable and what's not. Because once they know what's acceptable and what's not, and they know what the boundaries are, then they can create with inside that, right? And I think that's where things get really special, and that's where we see people's unique and individual talents and creativity and thought patterns really start to emerge, right? Whether it's how we can analyze data better, use this reporting, pull abstracts from this to determine how we're going to run, you know, ads or campaigns, or, you know, one of my favorite things that I love to think about is letting it kind of analyze a system for red flags, errors, antiquated data. But again, you can't do that until you set clear boundaries and educate your team on these things so that they can move forward in a way that works best for the company as a whole. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a little under 5 minutes left. I think we have time for a couple questions, but before we go to questions, quick fire. Name your favorite AI trend or tool. It can be marketing related or not. Just quick, down the line.
That fake band that came out, that, like, everybody was like, what is good? Like, it was like a fake band and nobody could find it on the internet. They were backing up like tons of plays on like different streaming platforms, and I just thought that as a social experiment was hysterical.
Mine is a bit futuristic. It is humanoids boxing against each other in garages in San Francisco.
Much more practical. I just said mine is Fixer for email. I love it.
Yeah, I will say what I mentioned earlier, Julius AI, just because I'm a creative marketer, not a technical analyst. So when I saw what I could do in minutes, I'm like, oh my gosh, like this just saved me like hours. In my analyst hours, like I'm in heaven. So, yeah.
What was it? Sorry.
Julius.ai. I don't represent it. I just learned it last week. I've only used it 3 times, but I'm already mind blown.
Awesome. Thank you. And I saw a couple questions up here. I don't know if we have past mics, so maybe just stand up and shout or grab a mic.
You can speak louder. Can you hear me? I can speak louder.
You mentioned N8N. What are some of the most beneficial agentic workflows that you've built using that platform?
We use them a lot. N8N is a workflow platform. We're using it like everything personally. So what we've challenged each of our employees is any personal workflows that you have, find a way to build a workflow to make it like efficiently. So things that I use it for, if I need to pull like info from a spreadsheet and I need to take it from a spreadsheet and maybe put it into a CRM. Maybe I need to take it from a spreadsheet, put it into a CRM, and then put it into an email. I'll run that through a workflow and put that in an amen. Maybe it needs to come from like a department and then go into a spreadsheet and into somewhere else. So, I mean, basic things like that up to much more complicated things. We're closing real estate transactions, so we use it in our TransOps teams to like help with that workflow through things in areas like that where we make gaps in different systems that we use, which is a much more sort of complicated workflow that we would use it through there. So information flow. Anytime there's a flow of information between different systems, we'll use it to bring that flow from one system to another so that we're not manually having to move over data.
60 seconds, yeah, one quick question.
Let me introduce myself. I'm Akbar. I'm the owner of a real estate company in Dubai. That is one of the top 10 real estate company. Now we recently launched a digital marketing company. So my question from you, you're in the same field there. So we had a discussion on that customer acquisition there. So what AI tools you are think are effective for customer acquisition and complete customer lifecycle journey to manage the whole cycle from customer acquisition to the data analysis?
Yeah.
We don't have the platform right now where we can collate the data from all social media platforms. We can analyze it. We can review the attributes and then again adjust our campaign there. Is there any AI tool which can help us in that?
Yeah, it's a great question. So you could try to probably get something like this through Salesforce, right? Whether you're going to sell you a bunch, but I still think you have to build the stack individually. That's just my personal take. I think all these companies are best in class at what they do, and you need to build that full kind of 360 tech stack. But I would look into, have you heard of 6sense? Have you ever heard of 6sense? 6sense. I would look into 6sense, I would look into Demandbase, I would look into a company also called Clay. Clay is a great company for filling data gaps and understanding how to build account-based marketing lists and do more of your own targeting of companies that you want to go after. And then there's one more company that I'm a big fan of, it's called PeopleGPT, and it's typically used for recruitment, but you can also use it for prospecting. So maybe we could talk a little more about it if you want some other tools as well after the session.
All right, I think that's time. Thank you all so much. Thank you. Thank you all for joining us. We're going to rotate slides during lunch, and we'll see you all back here for the entertainment formula at 2:10.